We've done all of our conversations for Reflections on the Silver Screen in my library up until now. But today we're doing something different. We're visiting Miss Katharine Hepburn in her house on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. She's invited us to join her here, and she invited me to sit in this chair. Special because this was the chair that Spencer Tracy used to sit in. So we accepted that invitation. We thought you might like to see where she lives, and it is, after all, Miss Katharine Hepburn.
I think movies are great, you see. I just love movies.
Why?
I don't know whether it's that they're easy to see, but I just find it an enormously satisfactory medium to watch, to be in, you name it. No, I love movies.
Do you think there's anything that you might do differently now, knowing what you know?
What do you mean?
Well, in other words, if you could go back and change any of the choices over 60 years, this is not a realistic offer I'm making you. I can't really offer things.
No, but I mean, I wouldn't, obviously the ones that don't come off. I mean, you can read something and think it's terribly funny. Sylvia Scarlett, we thought was terribly funny. It's rather popular now,
yes,
actually, but it was a disaster, total disaster.
Did you know it when you were shooting it?
No.
So it's only later. Did you ever resent the fact that in movies, you would create a character, you would create whatever it was you were doing, but that you had no say over which take the director would use, over which scenes would be included?
Well, I used to have quite a lot of say, on the contrary.
You did?
When I bothered to see the stuff. Oh, yes.
But that wasn't usual for that time.
No, but it was usual for me.
I'll bet.
I never felt imposed on.
Yes.
That is, I never felt I could disagree with George Cukor about what was good and what was lousy, or John Huston or something.
Yeah.
But usually, if it's something that's very questionable, you see it and discuss it. So I never found that a problem in the movies.
Let's go back to the beginning if we can.
Okay.
I have read that you initially wanted to follow in your father's footsteps, and that you toyed with the idea of being a doctor, as your dad was. Your
surgeon.
Father was a very distinguished surgeon who was really ahead of his time. And then you struggled with chemistry. Do I have that right? And that was because you couldn't deal with chemistry. You couldn't pass chemistry.
I was stupid. Just stupid. And everything that would lead up to being a doctor.
Well, why, when you decided that you couldn't handle that being a doctor, why did you then go for acting?
I don't know. I think that just happened. I honestly can't remember.
You know,
I didn't think I wanted to be an actor, but I did when I was a kid. Played the Beast and Beauty and the Beast and a few things like that. But I think I wanted to be famous.
You think you did want to be famous?
I think I wanted to be noticed. But maybe I'm wrong. I think I have been noticed.
Yes, you have. When you first went out to Hollywood, you went up to Hollywood from the Broadway stage.
Yes.
And again, you had this notion of building a career and perhaps of being famous. You did a film in 1932 called Bill of Divorcement.
That's right.
With George Cukor.
Yep.
Who would end up being someone you would work with many times over the years to come.
We're great friends, yes.
There was a breakfast scene in that film where you ended up having to do it time and time again, endless takes.
Yes.
And every time you did it,
I had to eat a breakfast.
When you got out to Hollywood and you did this first film in 32, do you remember what surprised you? What surprised you about Hollywood? You remember the things that you sort of weren't expecting? I know we're going back a lot of years here. We're going back a long time.
60.
60 years, exactly so.
About more, I think, really. Yes, about 62 or 3.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Because I'm 85,
Yeah, you look.
and I went out there in 32.
Yes. And I'm just curious, when you first got out there, if you settled in and
So
suddenly...
I thought it was great. I liked it.
You did?
And I like movie making. I don't like the theater.
Really?
No, I think the theater's a bore. Because you have to stay up late to do it. And I like movies.
But
that was great. You had to go to work at 6 o'clock. Then it was fine with me. I was happy to go to work at 6 o'clock as long as I could go home at 5 o'clock.
yeah, I know. Movies are made in little bits and pieces. When you were working in the theater, you would work on the stage, you would develop an act, a character, and you would spend whatever, 90 minutes or 2 hours with an audience. Did you find it difficult at first working in those little bits and pieces?
No, I liked all that.
Really?
Oh, yes.
And what?
Like movies, like everything about movies.
Right from the beginning.
Right from the beginning, yes. I do. And everything about the theater is doomed with me because I'm an early riser and I like to go to bed at 7 or 8 o'clock.
Well, speaking of early rising, you did a movie called Morning Glory,
Yes, I did.
1933. And it was a terrific performance.
Yes, it was copied from Ruth Gordon. My name's Eva Lovelace, Lovelace. I added the lace. Do you smoke? I do. And she did that in a picture, in a sort of Mistress of Monotone. And I'm a big fan of Ruth Gordon. I think was a brilliant actress. I learned a hell of a lot from her. And I won the award. Copying, I called her and said I should send you this award because there it is. It's you.
In 33, in that same year, you also did Little Women, again with George Cukor.
Brilliant.
Brilliant film.
Brilliant casting.
Brilliant casting.
And a really brilliant script. And that script was due to George Cukor turning down 3 scripts that just didn't catch the flavor of the original novel. The original novel was really brilliant, I thought. But you believed it, you know. And I think you believed all of us.
What I have read is that you have great respect for Cukor as a director.
Because he liked me so much, yes.
He did.
Well,
I know.
I'm teasing you.
No, but he
No,
did.
but I did, yes. I was rather his dish, yes.
Looking at all the wonderful directors you worked with, including Cukor, beginning with Cukor, what was it that made a good director? You worked with Lumet and David Lean and Howard Hawks, so many fine people. What was it that made someone a good director for you? What quality?
I don't think I could answer that on a personal basis. A good director, hopefully, will pick a good script. Now, a lot of good directors and good actors have picked bad scripts. So there's always that element of luck as will the thing as a whole hold an audience interest. Why is something really good? And there's a bloody difficult thing to answer, isn't it?
Isn't it interesting? Movies are 100 years old, and we're no closer now to knowing what makes a good film. If people knew in Hollywood what made a good film, they wouldn't make the mistakes that they did.
Well, listen, they wouldn't in the theater, and you wouldn't bore people to death, you know, as an individual.
Let me ask you about another George Stevens, and about a film that you did in 1935 called Alice Adams. Alice Adams also got your second Academy Award nomination.
Really?
Yeah, it was the second nomination.
Why didn't I win it?
Well, I think they just made a mistake. They made a mistake several times. They ended up giving you 4 of them now.
Yes. But Alice Adams was a really good performance.
What do you think that means? When you look back, and I mentioned certain films, certain of your early films, mid-30s, and you can look at them now with pride and with candor, and you say, oh, that was good work. What do you think that means? Like for you, when you look at it and you say, that was a good performance, justifiably
That's because
proud
I
of it.
haven't seen it. Is that terrible? No. I don't look at them.
Why not?
Scared, cowardly. And I don't look at them because I don't want to be able to see myself. When I was a kid, I used to look at them. Then when it began to collapse, I stopped looking else. Because I thought, nobody gives a rap in hell how you look. They really don't. You care, but people don't notice. Or they say, well, God Almighty, she's 85, why shouldn't she? She looks pretty well. Everything considered.
1937,
Yeah,
you did a movie called Stage Door
yeah.
with Gregory LaCava
And Ginger.
and Ginger Rogers.
And Lucille, yes.
That's
Wonderful
right.
company.
Lucille Ball.
Yeah.
And the film did very well.
Yes, it did. Big hit.
Big hit, major hit. My sense is that you liked LaCava. He certainly liked working with you.
Yes, but LaCava was a brilliant director. And LaCava was very opinionated about what you didn't fight with LaCava.
Yeah, but my sense of it in reading the account of the making of that film is that was one of the reasons why you got on with him so famously. He was opinionated and you were opinionated. And you came in and you also knew that neither of you were good at compromise. And yet you both...
So I shut up.
There's a lesson in that.
Yes, there's a lesson in that. I certainly shut up.
Yeah.
Because I didn't argue with LaCava. Nobody argued with LaCava. And LaCava could be wrong.
Yeah.
I think that was a very good picture
It was wonderful.
that LaCava did. But LaCava, I never made a suggestion to LaCava. And I played scene after scene, which were ginger scenes, and ginger scenes, and ginger scenes. And I thought, what the hell is going on here? But I had brains enough to shut up. And he handed me the whole end of the picture.
Bringing Up Baby, 1938.
Yeah,
Howard Hawks.
yeah.
Would you put him in that category of really fine directors that we've already talked about, like the
No.
George Cukors? Why not?
Well, I just think, I don't think he was up to LaCava, for instance.
Yeah.
He was different. He was not as interesting to me. And I don't think I was as interesting to him.
Yeah.
He did some wonderful pictures, Howard Hawks. And I thought ours was splendid. But I didn't think I was his dish.
That was the one where you worked with the leopard, which worked out fine, but there was a point there where that leopard just sort of went after you. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And that was like a turning point where at that point you said, fine, I'm not working with this actor anymore.
Yes,
This
I
actor
used to work in a cage with him alone. And Cary Grant was terrified. He wouldn't get anywhere near it. And I thought he didn't like cats. And the cat didn't like him. And then I was, easing with the cat and thought, this is great fun. And then all of a sudden, I put on a short skirt with tabs on the bottom of the skirt, and under the tab, which was about as big as half of this, just like this, hanging down below the edge of the skirt, tabs, with an iron thing underneath it to hold the skirt down.
Oh, so when you would
And
whirl
they
around.
flip.
Yeah.
And that drove the cat crazy, and the cat struck. And luckily, a woman named Olga Celeste had a whip, and she brought it down in back of me. And that was the end of me with the leopard.
You made it a habit not to go to the Academy Awards. And yet, when I read Me, it was clear to me that it meant something to you. And that you were gratified, certainly when you were nominated for an Academy Award. That you felt it was a kind of acknowledgement. And that you were pleased to have the nomination.
No. I mean, just what any human being think. Obviously, anyone is pleased to be nominated. And obviously, you're furious if you lose it and don't get it. And obviously, you think you deserved it for everything you've done.
Yes.
So what's the matter with everyone? Why don't they give it to you, give it to you, give it to you?
But you won more than any other
I've
actor.
been lucky, and I have a good eye for a good script.
I think you did.
That I do have. I haven't done too many stinkers. I've done a few which should be nameless, but I, by and large, I have what interests me apparently sort of interests the public.
Well, there was a point where RKO was not giving you good scripts, decent scripts.
Yeah.
And you bought your contract out.
Yes.
Which,
But that was because nobody was going to see me. And I thought the reason they're not going to see me is that the stuff is dull. And it was.
the material was dull.
Terrifying. Terrifying.
They had a phrase at the time that they used for several actresses in which they said it was box office poison.
That's right.
And it's very hard for us to realize now, with the body of work that goes over 60 years, that there was a time when Kate Hepburn was in that category of box office poison, where they said, rightly or wrongly,
She's a bore.
she's a bore.
She's a bore. Yes.
Well, that was also what you said, though. You yourself said, there was one director who
Well,
said...
the material was boring.
It was.
I think so. Don't you? Have you seen some of those pictures?
Well, I
They're
saw...
not to be believed.
I saw Mary of Scotland, which was a John Ford film,
Yeah.
1936.
No good.
Well, I didn't dislike it. I thought it.
Oh,
I thought it.
it was terrible.
Really?
Yes.
Why did you do it?
Because I thought it would degrade. Just wrong.
I want to jump ahead a little bit
Yes.
to a terrific film called Philadelphia Story.
Yes.
That was a 1940 film. Got you an Academy Award nomination.
Yes.
And it seems to me it also ended that period that when we'd say the box office poison thing, where there was a time, wasn't a long time, but there were a couple of years when it was tough for you, when there was a down period
Yes.
in your work, in
Yes.
your career.
Yes.
Philadelphia Story, you came just roaring back into the,
That's
into
right.
the public's consciousness.
That's right.
When you accepted that, when you decided to do that, did you know that that film was going to have, they could have that impact
Yes.
on your career?
Yes. I thought it would. And it certainly did. It was a play. And it was written, that was rather fascinating, because it was written by Phil Barry, whose career was in a nosedive.
Yes.
I was in a nosedive. The Theatre Guild who produced it were in a nosedive. Isn't that funny? All
Yeah.
of us. So it was a great
It turned everything
time.
around.
Yes, it did.
I've read that you wanted to do that film with Spencer Tracy. That initially
Yes.
you were interested in Spencer
Well,
Tracy.
I took the script to Mayer, and he said, who would you like to have play the two men? And I said, Spencer Tracy and Clark Gable, neither of whom I knew at the time. And he said, well, I'll ask them. So he asked them, and they said no. So then Mayer said, I'll give you Jimmy Stewart. And he said, I'll give you $150,000 to get one other star. And I was a good friend of Cary Grant's. And I said, Cary, would you play either of these parts? And he said, look, I'll play C.K. Dexter-Haven. I'll give you 3 weeks. So I said, okay. And hired him.
Did you ever ask Spencer Tracy, after you knew him years later, why
No.
he had turned it down?
He turned it down because he wanted to do, I think it was a guy named Joe. And then I think that was why. I thought always thought that Spencer was a wonderful actor. He was certainly bloody good at a guy named Joe, too.
Yeah.
He was right.
You and I once had a conversation a couple of years ago in this room, and you said to me, you know, Spence never thought he was really good.
I don't think he thought he was a great actor.
Really?
I think he just could do it. And Laura Taylor could just do it. They both had a most unusual quality, I feel, as an actor and actress, which is rare. I think some people are very good, but I thought those two people were really great. There was something about them that was really unusual.
Do you think you had that quality also? Do you think you have that quality?
Oh no. I'm very efficient. No, and I think I'm a good actor, but I don't think I'm a genius. I don't know. They were geniuses. They were just extraordinary, what they could do. I think I'm okay, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I do too.
But I mean, I'm not a God-given artist. And they both were. Chicago was. You know, there was just something about her that was unique. Now, there's something about me that's unique, and that is I've lasted 60-odd years in the business, you know, and I think that's unique enough to suit me.
I think that is impressive. I don't think that's why people cherish your work. And a lot of the work, particularly in a film like Summertime, that you did was splendid work done without the dialogue. The dialogue was very good, but it was sparing dialogue. A lot of what I would see between you and Rossano Brazzi was just something that I felt and that I believed. Something I always wondered about. David Lean kept making going into that canal in Venice, which is wonderful on screen. Yeah. Can you just talk a little bit about that? Because a lot of people don't realize. About what happened to that film.
No, I still have it.
It never went away.
No.
And you've gone to doctors and everything.
Naturally.
And when I look at your eyes now, they have a teary look. It's actually sort of lovely. It's very feminine. But I guess it's not so feminine when you're on the other side of it.
No,
It's not quite so lovely.
Irritating.
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 Yeah.
Itches.
Did you realize at the time that when you went into the canal that there was a real possibility of illness?
I never thought of my eyes. I thought of my teeth and several other departments of my body. But I never thought of my eyes. So I didn't even use eye drops afterwards. And I got some sort of very peculiar infection that I still have. Working with David Lean was a treat.
What do you think made David Lean special, unique?
He could see. He could see a script. He could see a script. I mean, he could invent a script. He could read, and he saw what he was reading. That's not always true.
You've talked before about the fact that when David Lean got to Venice to do this film,
Yes.
that he sort of blossomed because he had a photographer's eye, you said.
Yes.
That he just became part of the city.
Yes.
He loved the just the physical beauty of the city.
That's right.
And
That's
he
right.
made it almost a third character in Summertime.
Yes.
The city
yes,
itself.
he did. But in all his pictures, he made it the third character, too, didn't he? He had great... David had enormous imagination. I think he was a lovely director, but mainly because of that extra vision. But, I mean, some people read a script and they see the script and the dialogue and everything, but it materialized for David.
You know, you were nominated for that film also for an Academy Award.
I was.
Yeah.
That's good. Thank you.
You know what?
You got me nominated, but I've never won it once.
I didn't get the nomination, and I didn't vote on it. But it's a great pleasure to be able to tell you that you got all these honors again.
Thank you.
I feel that I come with all these gifts for you, and everything is good.
That's true.
Let me tell you another one you were nominated for. 1962, Long Day's Journey into Night.
Yes.
Shot in New York.
What? Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that was great fun.
It was.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Why
And
do you say that?
Brilliant script. Well, it's such a brilliant play. And a wonderful part.
You once said that the best direction that you ever got was in African Queen, and that you got it from John Huston. And you were struggling with that part, and he said to you, think of Eleanor Roosevelt.
Oh, yes. That piece of direction that he gave me about Eleanor Roosevelt was brilliant. Brilliant. Because she said the saddest things. I started to play the part, and she was rather on the downside. And so I said them, I suppose, seriously. And he said, say everything with a smile. She's the wife of a missionary, the sister, I mean, of a missionary. And everything is done, you know. God is love. Life is wonderful.
Yes.
This may seem miserable, but it's not.
Yes. With a kind of eternal
Yes,
optimism.
yes.
Kind of always
Clever
looking at it.
thing for him to have said. I said I wouldn't do it unless they did it in Africa,
Unless they did it on location.
on location.
And was that what prompted Houston to go on location?
Yes.
And there was
I don't know whether it prompted Houston, but it prompted them. And I don't know whether Houston, I guess Houston was going to do it when I first talked about it.
I hear that Bogart was not that happy with being in Africa and didn't share your...
Hated it.
He hated it.
We hated it.
Really?
Hated it.
And did he let you know that?
No, I mean, he never fussed, you know. Not Bogey never fussed, but Bogey didn't like it, and I loved it.
Let's talk about another challenging one and another director, George Stevens.
Yes.
1942. Great director.
Great director. Wonderful comedian. Wonderful sense of laughter. Oh, and I love comedies much more than tragedies.
Really?
I love to make people laugh.
Was Woman of the Year a good experience for you?
Oh, yes.
Also an Academy Award nomination, we should say.
It was.
For the record.
You say they're all nominations.
All nominations.
But which one won?
Well, we'll get to that. Yeah. What's significant is that, well, you'll see as I unwind here, you'll find the story quite fascinating.
Thank you.
It's good that I have so many surprises for you, actually, about what you got nominated
I've lived so long, I can't remember which ones they were.
Maybe that's one of the joys of having a long life and a long career, which is that as you forget it, it comes back to be a happy surprise again. One would have thought that in this body of work that you have, a stunning body of work, that you would have gotten an awful lot of very good direction over the years, and that even though you've spoken very well of your directors, it sounds to me like there wasn't a lot of times when you were really happy with the direction that you've gotten. That a lot of it just left you to your own devices.
No, that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
I think the director is the person who deserves the credit. He accepts the responsibility. He's looking at it with a critical eye, but he's looking here, everywhere. And the flavor of the picture is what the director dominates. Very important.
You remember that sense, that flavor of State of the Union?
Yes.
1948 film, directed by Frank Capra. Good movie.
Yes.
It's another one to be proud of, I think.
Yes.
Do you remember, again, why when you saw that script, you said, this is something I want to do?
I just think I got drawn if I thought the thing was, if I did it, I thought it was a good script.
Claudette Colbert was set to play that part.
That's right, she didn't want to do it.
Yeah, well, she came in and she had this, she said, look, in my contract, I have this, and this, and this, and this. And Capra would not give in to her. And he went back to Spencer Tracy, who was already set.
Uh-huh.
And he said, I don't know what we're going to do. We don't have a leading lady. He said, I've been reading the role with my friend, Kate Hepburn, that he had been reading the part with you, that you were helping him to learn it. Not so?
Not so. Lie.
Another lie.
Another lie.
And that it was, but I read it was Tracy who suggested you for State of the Union.
I'm sure he probably did.
Yes.
But it wasn't because I ever listened to what Spencer was going to do with the part, because he never told me.
He didn't?
No.
And he didn't ask your advice on what he should do? Did you ask his advice?
Often.
Did
But
give
he
you-
was not given to discussing what he was doing.
Did he give you good advice, do you think, in retrospect?
I think usually did, yes, honestly, yes.
What?
But he had good taste.
Yes.
He was a wonderful actor.
Yeah.
He had a wonderful ear and
Yeah.
a wonderful eye.
Adam Dribb was your sixth film with Spencer Tracy.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time that they were negotiating billing, they went to Tracy and they talked about billing and about how it would be done and whether both of you would get the same billing, Hepburn and Tracy, Tracy and Hepburn. And he always insisted on top billing.
I don't think there was ever any question when Spencer and I did a picture together that he would not be billed first. The subject never came up.
I have read that Judy Holliday, who was wonderful, had a smaller role than you, but
Yes.
was so good in it.
That's right.
But she was scared. She didn't want to do
She
Adam
didn't
Dribb.
want to do it.
And that one of the things was that you urged her to do it, and that right through the making of this film, you
Yeah.
gave her a lot of support, a lot
Well,
of
I didn't
friendship.
give her a lot of support. I gave the camera my back.
You gave the camera your back.
My back.
Can you just explain that a
And
little
it
bit
was
for people
right
who
under
don't
her
understand?
face.
Yeah.
And it was a small part, and she was brilliant in it. And she had just done, I think, Born Yesterday. And she wanted desperately to do, and I think how I sold her was to say, we will do a shot of you in a gorgeous costume, and we'll see to it that Harry Cohn looks at it, so that you'll get that part. And we did that. We did virtually a test in a marvelous-looking dress, shirt, or whatever. And she got the part that she wanted.
Yeah.
And she done us the favor. I thought that was very clever of me.
Very clever. Very clever. And something also I think she was grateful to you for her whole life. Adam Dribb came sort of at the end of the studio system. Studio system dominated Hollywood from the point where you came in, early 30s through the early 50s, for that sort of 2 decades. When you look back at the studio system, because you've worked now the way the system is now, in the 90s and then, do you look back at it with affection? Do you think that it was good to you?
Oh, yes. Oh,
why,
yes.
why is that?
Well, Metro was a very strong studio. And you were very well supported. I always said I signed with Metro because of the way they took you from the New York Central to the Union Pacific, but across Chicago. But I just think the studios were a great help.
Pat and Mike, everyone's favorite, with Kate Hepburn and Spencer Tracy. Do you have recollections of shooting the film?
Of the sports, yes.
Of the sports in it? Was it fun?
Yes.
It was.
It was fun when I sank a 40-foot putt on a sloping green.
When I came here last time, and I looked at the paintings around here, and I said, these are quite nice. These are very beautiful. But I didn't recognize the style. I know a little bit about it. I didn't recognize the style. And you said, no, I painted those.
Well, I painted that.
Yes.
And I painted those. But I certainly didn't paint.
Well,
no.
That one you painted over there.
Yes, I did.
You also told me that it was a source of great pleasure, that you absolutely loved painting.
I do.
Do you still do it?
Yes.
And you said also that you could do painting all alone.
Yes.
I find it so interesting that you love painting, which, like writing, is a solitary art.
Yes. I like writing, too.
You do?
Yes, I do.
And yet you made your career, formidable career, in the most collaborative of arts that there has ever been.
You mean the movies?
The movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just seems to me there are so many wonderful paradoxes in your life. You really like and cherish your privacy terribly.
Yes.
And yet you became a movie star as a youngster, early on. Was there ever a point where you said, what I am giving up in privacy,
no.
It's just not worth it?
No.
You never
No
said?
point. No. Oh, no.
Was there ever a point where the fame became a burden to you?
Well, I think that off and on there are points when anyone's fame becomes a terrible burden to them.
And what do you do? Is there anything that you do?
Put up with it.
You put up with it?
Yes, we do. Sure you do. You have to. I mean, in public, it's not a pleasure to be recognized and stared at and chased and followed and so forth. I've lived the kind of life that I stayed away from that sort of recognition. I mean, there are many times when I would love to see what's happening, but I don't go.
Are you able to go to the theater, though, and to movies occasionally?
I think so, yes, because I'm very good at people saying, shut up, get out. That sort of charming remark.
Yes.
And most people are very nice to me now.
You also said that when the last book came out, when Me came out, and you said, and you came out of your privacy and you did several interviews, and almost went public. By Hepburn standards, I dare say you went public.
Like now.
Like now, except now you're not selling a book. Yeah.
How do you know?
I don't know. I should have suspected as much, as a matter of fact. And then you said I've been very private for so long, but then you said now, because I've got this book to sell, I've had to become adorable.
Yes.
And so you were.
I was?
You were.
Good.
You were. And I just wondered how it felt having to be adorable after all those years of really not having to be anything, of being able to be your own woman.
I didn't find it bad because I was trying to organize the sale or something, you know. I'm very practical.
I'll tell you
I
what.
mean, I take the bad, but the good.
Yes,
Good,
indeed.
good.
Just like Eleanor Roosevelt would have done,
That's
if I may
right,
say so.
that's right.
In '67, you did Guess Who's Coming to Dinner? Ninth film with Spencer Tracy. By any standard, a super movie.
Yeah.
Now, I have read that at that point, Spencer Tracy was not insurable. And for people who don't understand about movies, we should make it clear that when you go into making a film and it costs a certain amount of money,
Yes.
you have to get insurance, what they call a completion bond. And you so desperately wanted to do this film, and do it with him particularly, that you used your own money and his money, and you ended up underwriting this film to get it made.
Now, you say that's true. I do not think that's true. I knew that we couldn't be insured.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, that's so we're not insured, you know.
But they wouldn't have made the movie.
Well, they did.
Yep, they did.
And
They did.
I think they made the movie, and I think they're the ones who deserve the credit.
It's very interesting when you talk about credit. I'll tell you something else you've said. You said, I loved Stanley Kramer because every promise that he made to me and to Spence, he kept.
Yes.
And you meant that Spencer Tracy didn't have to work for long
That's
hours
right,
because he
that's
was
right.
ill, that he could go home at a certain time every
Yes.
day, and that if he wasn't up to it, that Kramer would shoot around him
That's
and
right,
would do other
which
things.
he did.
He did.
Yeah.
What I also inferred from what you said, aside from the fact that you appreciated Stanley Kramer's integrity,
Yeah.
was that there are a lot of promises that are made in the business, in Hollywood, that are broken. And that you found this a little exceptional, that he said to you, Kate, we'll do this, 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 and this, and he did
Well,
exactly that.
he did say that, and I was amazed, but it isn't just in movies that people are undependable. We all say this, this, and this, and this, and we don't do it. So,
Isn't that the truth?
what?
Isn't that the truth?
Oh, that's true. Yes, so it was amazing to me that he made a point of living up to what he had promised.
Yeah. For that film, you won your second Academy Award.
Good for me.
Yes, indeed. What significantly, some of your best work has been done in recent years, and that with the ups and downs of any career, when you look at a film like An On Golden Pond, that you did in one of what we can say is one of the later chapters of your career.
Well, which everyone considers one of the later chapters.
Did they come to you and say to you at that point, well, you're cast for Ethel, we would like to cast Henry Fonda? Was there a discussion? In other words, were you cast first for that?
I can't answer that. I really don't know.
Do you remember working with Fonda, though?
Yes, I do.
How was
But he
that?
was great.
He was
Great.
great.
He was a lovely actor. Lovely actor, true.
Henry Fonda said, I cannot thank Kate enough for playing with me in this film. He said, because it never would have been the movie that it was, except for Kate Hepburn. He not only respected you, but he was grateful that you did that part with him.
I think the reason he said that was we had a discussion. And I said, no, Hank, we are these people. We don't have to act them. When he was being a little bit older than I thought he should be.
So what you
I
told
said,
him
you
is,
do not need to act old. You are old. So you're perfectly acceptable.
when you look back now, over 60 plus years in this business, you worked with surely the best directors. You've earned more Academy Award nominations and Oscars than any actor ever worked with. Was there a point in your career, in your work, where you said to yourself, okay, now I've made it. I wanted to be this successful.
No.
I wanted to be this famous.
No. You know, you don't. I don't look back at it. You know, I look forward to life.
If you could now go back to a teenage Kate Hepburn, to a youngster, maybe in your first year of Bryn Mawr, let's say, when you're
Yes.
just starting out, with your whole life in front of you, and knowing what you know now, if you could give that young Kate A bit of advice, or just say to her, let me tell you something.
I just say, don't worry. Don't worry, it'll happen.